Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So as you can tell by the title, I think we need to call out some things that are going on right now, specifically because of the level of stupidity that's out there. So people are dumb, but AI is dumber. And the reason I'm making that claim is simply this. AI is only as smart as the information that is put into it. Right now, libraries are being bought up across the globe. So those books can then be scanned and put into AI. And that would be okay, specifically if it was put in free of bias, free of any opinion or any change to that data, just so you could have the actual book in its raw form, and it should be available forever out there in the internet. That would be a wonderful thing, right? Whether you believe what the book says or you agree with the author or not, the idea would be that that work of literature, that work of art, if you would be out there in its truest form in the internet forever, out in the vapor, right? But the problem with AI is there is bias into those that are putting in. And I'll use Google Gemini as the example. When Gemini first came out, it claimed that George Washington was black. It made Abraham Lincoln black as well. And it was doing all that because of the bias at Google around race and that equity and inclusion nonsense that was going on at the time. And so Google had a product that they'd spent millions of dollars on and they were trying to push out as the next great thing, yet it's so dumb it's saying that George Washington is black. So it can't even get historical fact and data of a extremely historical figure correct. So that's what I'm saying to you today. AI is dumber. The biggest difficulty right now in the recruiting business, and if you've applied for a job over the last 5 or 6 years, there's been some issue. You've applied to jobs and never heard anything back. Every year the government's claiming that all these jobs were created, but then you find out 3 months later that actually there was only a couple thousand jobs created when the government was claiming millions of jobs were created, etc., etc. And what the issue has been in the last 5 years that nobody's fessing up to, which they're starting to now, is AI was constructing a lot of these jobs, and the majority of the applicants that were being put into these jobs was also AI. So it was all this false movement going on that was achieving nothing. So that's the point I want to make today, is the number one biggest deficiency on how dumb AI is at the end of the day, when you tell something to compute and all it does is compute, then that's what it will be doing. And data centers and all of these things that need to be utilized to farm this data, that's what they're talking about farming. It's all these computations that are supposed to lead to, the benevolence of man, when ultimately it's stupidity. It's much more people trying to claim to be a prince in Africa that need money to do this, this, and this. That's the issue with AI. It's exactly what the issue with the internet was. So when the internet came out decades ago, for those that are too young to remember, us older folks remember that the internet was a big thing too. Oh, it was huge. All these things, it was going to do all this. And it did in fact change the world, just like AI will change the world. But it will in no way replace human beings. It may replace some of the jobs that people have been working since the internet created these jobs. So the jobs prior to the internet will still be around. AI can't replace those things. There are a lot of people thinking that AI is going to be incredible and one day be the computer like off of Alien, when you go into a med bay and you lay down and it scans you and then fixes you, and the computer itself is extremely intelligent. Maybe that will be available a couple hundred years in the future. But the problem with computing now and the internet itself in general is there's just as much fraud and nonsense as there is truth in reality. So that's the biggest issue with AI. Right now, there's a table here that say it's calling out the biggest challenges of AI, the impact and solutions, what's happened so far. Number one is what I've been talking about, data quality. It says it's incomplete data or biased data sets. It's wrong predictions, discriminatory outputs. The data governance is how you need to correct this, and people need to be properly trained to adhere to strict governance. That's going to be something that HR and all this nonsense, all the false bull that we've listened to for the last decade, what is a man, what is a woman, all that nonsense. If you can't have truth, then you can't have fixed data sets. If you can't have fixed data sets, then you can't be used to answer any questions. If you can't answer questions as simple as those, then you obviously can't answer questions that are far more difficult when it comes to science and medicine, specifically to target things that we need to target, like cancer and modern disease that's being created by the foodstuffs that we eat that aren't natural foods. So that's the first thing. The challenge is the data quality. The next thing is the computing cost, or the compute cost. Large model training demands high infrastructure costs. It's going to generate this huge carbon footprint. And the way you fix this is do smaller task-specific models. Here's the thought about that. You shouldn't have to have a gigantic data farm to farm all this data. You should theoretically be able to do it in the closets that we used to have to use for computers. So as computing got smaller and smaller and smaller, and now a laptop that's the size of your phone or a little larger, to like a tablet, can have a terabyte of data. Only 50 years ago, a few gigs would have taken up a whole building. So my point is, the footprint doesn't have to be out of control. People just need to calm down. It definitely should not have to require clean water, and it definitely should not have to be in places where resources are more important and should be protected. So nature should be protected. Human life should be protected. Foods for humans should be protected. All of that is more important than data farming. The problem is your politicians are animals of a specific practice, so they can be bought and sold, which majority of them have been bought and sold. So these companies that think that this large model is what they have to do, they're going to continue to buy your politicians so they can continue to look the other way, so they can continue to use up resources in your states and in your communities that should not be used for this. And that's going to generate cost not only for this actual practice of data farming, but also in the cost of destroying the community, destroying the natural resources, and then coming back later and having to fix those resources, etc. So in that risk program is the thought that they're going to have to pay for damages and fallout that they're going to do right now and in the next couple of decades that they're going to have to pay for after the fact. So just know that's part of this modern race. And that's what this is, guys. That's why you can't look at anything without hearing AI. It's the stupidest thing on earth. AI is not ready to be anything more than a general assistant at the moment. And if they could dumb it down just to do operational code and do things to help you use your computer like an assistant, a digital assistant, if they could just get that right, it would be a huge help in the right direction. But at this point, they can't. And like I said, once again, AI is being utilized greatly to combat the negative stuff that AI is doing. So you have good AI fighting bad AI, and that's taking up the majority of the bandwidth of what AI is doing today. And some companies are coming up with things that can be used as a resource with their generative AI that they're trying to limit, and it has code written in it and rules so it does specific things. That actually can be useful. An operational program for a robotics supply or a robot or something like that would make a lot of sense, even for general computing. Would make a lot of sense. It could theoretically replace calculators and replace things like that, where you don't have to put it in. You can say, hey, what is this? And it can give that back to you. Or better yet, it would be nice if you're writing something, it can then tell you why that is. But the reason I use the title today, People Are Dumb and AI is Dumber, people use AI and they copy and paste that, and then they turn it in like it's their own work, and they get failed out of colleges and out of high school and out of things because they're not smart enough to proofread what they're going to attempt to turn in. And AI is not smart enough to hand it to them in a format that won't get them in trouble in the first place. So that's the problem, is the people are dumb and the AI makes them dumber. Now, smarter people with these tools in their hands, it may help them become smarter. It may help them do certain things that actually will prove a specific benefit. So the challenges are, number one, data quality. Number two, compute cost. Number three is bias. And bias is honestly why AI is going to be useless for the first 20 or 30 years. Once you get past all that nonsense, then something can actually be used. But skewed data and skewed training data and unfair outcomes and hiring and lending and sentencing and all those things are going to create issues. And that's going to create costs and risk of using AI for decades to come. And the company that will be extremely profitable in the next 2 decades will be the company that can mitigate bias faster than the rest. Because people will only value something that is valuable. So just like the internet, you could search something on the internet, you're going to get a bunch of BS, but then you're going to find out there's certain sources you can go to that are true. AI is going to go in the same life cycle. It's going to be the same exact thing. You're going to see that a lot of AI is just trash. The other is not. The next is talking about hallucinations. AI generates confident but false information. Errors in legal, medical, and financial decisions, and in financial case studies, guys, that can be immensely detrimental to any career. Any student that's trying to learn something and uses this as a case study that's absolutely false, they deserve an F. And so this can just get in people's way, as if they just not use this, use the internet, or use historical sources, that would be even better. And that should be what people expect, because AI right now, that's called hallucination. It's basically just a lie, a story built by AI that's completely false. And I'll say this, in the last 5 years, I've purchased myself 3 libraries of books and brought them to my home. AI is consuming books. They basically take it to these AI mills. It's scanned in, and that book is destroyed, and they're doing that intentionally. So they can try to hog up all this data, which is anything that people wrote, painted, or took pictures of. That's what data is, okay? The most profitable data is what you buy and sell. And so to tell you how stupid that is, if you have TV channels that you pay for, they basically can see everything you've ever watched and what hours you watch things and all these things. Think about how irrelevant the commercials are there. They have your entire viewing history. They know what interests you and everything else. Facebook is even worse. They even see what you buy, etc. And they give you ads that are not something that you would ever purchase in the first place. That just tells you how stupid it is. At least if it was going to do all these things and get all this data, and now there's flock cameras that are going to check your patterns and see where you're going. And they said it's to scan cars, which is nonsense. These things are pointed into parks and into places. It's just too much. All it is observation, voyeurism for voyeurism's sake, and it's completely against your rights. It's illegal search and seizure. The Bush administration that put in the Patriot Act is what all this is being written under. It's completely against your rights in the Constitution of the United States. All of it is. The source data, the way they copy and paste what you watch, what you buy, etc., and then they sell that off. All that's illegal. All that's against your constitutional rights. But big corporations have been paying for this. AI is no different. It's just going to be a source of data for corporations to use against you, the citizen, you, the customer. That's how that's going to work. Okay, so understand it's very dumb. Yes, it's life-changing. It's supposed to change the world. It will, the same way the internet did. Once all the fanfare slows down and we realize how much of a waste of energy a lot of it is, it will become apparent that people are wasting a lot of energy and money on AI. So the next problem is explainability. Models cannot explain their own decisions. So like in mathematics, where you have an equation and you have one answer, you can see the linear path to that answer. When AI is creating models now, they can't explain, they can't show their work to say. So explainability is going to cause issues like loss of trust, compliance gaps in especially regulated sectors. Those are all going to be issues, once again, that increase risk and increase financial instability for companies that are using this as their primary product. The next is privacy and security, sensitive training data, external cyber attacks, data breaches, manipulated model outputs, all of this stuff. The biggest issue with that is it's your information being purchased and put into these systems that are then going to get hacked. So your information is just going to get out there over and over and over again. Just expect that's the future. The future is everybody in China will be able to buy your information all the time, anytime they want, from companies here in the U.S. that are taking your stuff and selling it to everyone else in the world. So there's issues there. Regulation's the biggest, another big challenge. It's fragmented. It's a fast-moving law. Legal exposure is everywhere across all markets. Internal AI governance is very difficult. You have to have dedicated people serving this to try to drive compliance and try to keep up with the speed of the stupidity of AI. So you're going to have a lot of regulation issues in the next decades. And the next is the deployment gap. Legacy systems, poor integration planning. 54% of all AI pilots will never reach production. What's going to have to happen is some type of standardized deployment and monitoring processes for the new rollouts. The expectation on AI is that it's going to be $667.9 billion will be the market that AI is expected to be by 2030. 24.4% of the global generative AI market is basically projected to grow by 24.4% by 2030. And then $4.4 trillion is the expected value that will be added by generative AI to the global economy annually. I don't know how that's possible, frankly. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of flash and bang. You're going to have a lot of nonsense, a lot of noise, and a lot of it's going to go away. And we will get good things from it, but the bad things are going to be far more relevant and prevalent to everyone. But just like people are stupid, AI is even dumber because it's people putting the information into it. Frankly, I'm sick of hearing of AI. I'm sick of cameras going up everywhere. I'm sick of all this monitoring nonsense. At the end of the day, what are we monitoring everything for? And what is the expectation? Okay, at the end of the day, if we are not going to have any privacy at all, then it's all for naught anyway, right? So just, if you have questions about AI, it is the future. It is the next phase of the internet. It's very stupid right now. If AI can't correctly read a history book and tell you back what the history book said, and it doesn't know that the history book is the source of the information and it came from lives, it can't draw from the source material of that person's life, and it doesn't know how to do that linear code, which is just a human life of 100 years or less, I don't really see how it's going to keep up with anything else that's more relevant to our future expectations from computers and infrastructure based around computers and technology. So there you go. That's the top 15 challenges of AI. That's my thoughts around it. It is very dumb at the moment. It's not what people think. At the end of the day, it'll be 20 years before it's going to be a useful product that's going to be doing really amazing things. Right now, it's just going to be dumb for a while. And people are going to have figure out what it is that they're trying to do. And as you see right now, there's a lot of jobs and a lot of education in AI, just like what we saw in software engineering, etc., which has fallen off for the last decade. The jobs that now expect AI to replace, now you're getting jobs on how to be a AI engineer and systems designer. So it will create a whole new list of jobs for the same group of people that were in the last list of jobs that it's now replacing. So hopefully this is interesting to you. Honestly, it's a whole bunch of noise about nothing. And that's how everything is when it's new. So if you like information such as this and subjects such as these, please like, please subscribe. I just wanted to put this out here because people are kind of losing their minds a little bit about AI and they need to rein that in. Because frankly, if you don't know who George Washington was and what color he was, I really don't know what you can tell me about what medicines I need to fight certain cancers in the future. Right? People are dumb. AI is dumber. I'm Ben. Be good.